Hey, this is Brett with the Ink Kitchen, and here we are at the Impressions virtual show. How exciting and how virtually awesome it is. This is the Ink Kitchen Shop Talks presented by Hanes, the shirt people and underwear people, and the good guys over there at Hirsch who can sell you presses and embroidery machines and stuff. And here I am with my friend, Andy Rudman of Shirt Kong. What's up, Andy?
Not much, man. How are you today?
Oh, I'm great.
You shredding over there?
Am I what?
Are
Shredding?
you shredding? Yeah.
Yeah, we like to shred at least 38 hours a week.
Yeah, we're right there with you.
Andy, tell us who are you? Who is Shirt Kong?
Well, Shirt Kong, we are a screen printing and embroidery company in St. Louis, Missouri. And we have about 20 people that are here every day that really love printing shirts and embroidering shirts, I guess I should say.
Yeah, great. The people in embroidery, they hate it. Love it.
Yeah.
So are you a music person at all, Andy?
Yeah, I am. I played the trombone starting in 5th grade. And
were you in a ska band?
I should have been. I don't know. I don't think I had ever heard of ska, unfortunately. but I did learn. That's how I learned to, I guess, play and read music.
Yeah.
But so I don't really. I've never been in a band though, besides school.
Right, school band.
Yeah,
Get that school band back together. Have a little reunion concert.
I like it. It's a good idea.
There's a venue in St. Louis called the Creepy Crawl. Creepy Crawl. Have you been there?
Yes, but it's probably been a long time. Is it still around?
Oh, I don't know.
Do you know? Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. But yeah, it's been a while.
Played a few shows there. Actually, I think it was the last time I was there was probably like 2004-ish. So yeah, it's been a really long time. But actually, the band that I was in at the time, we had this band opening up for that tour where we played at the Creepy Crawl, so a tiny little venue, and the band opening up for us was the Plain White Tees, which is obviously a pretty big band now. So kind of funny, old time trivia. So obviously, everyone always says this. If you say, ask the question, who has the best Instagram in screen printing? They always say Shirt Kong.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I'm not there for those conversations, so I haven't heard that. But we do like. I don't know. A while ago, we, I guess, just like everybody, we sort of just started with Instagram, and I didn't know what I was doing, and just started posting stuff. And I think at some point, I started to make videos while I was at work, and then I'd take them home and throw them into Final Cut and try and make something, like that looks cool. And I started to put that up there. And then I think it was one day I had a wild day and I wrote out some thoughts on that day. And because I had never really captioned anything before, I didn't know how to caption or anything. We just would post pics or videos. And then I just shared some of my, maybe some of my feelings about that day, and started doing that because that was therapy for me in a sense, I guess, and it felt good to just write it down and organize it that way. And then almost like a journal, I suppose, like I'd be journaling, but only sharing it, with, I guess, anybody.
Yeah.
The world. And maybe that part of it caught on a little bit, and I don't know, helped maybe people, help inspire, I suppose, somebody if they're having a shitty day, and
Yeah.
That's what I've heard anyway.
Well, that's great. I think it's good and really important to just kind of show your craft, and even not even just show your craft, but like show your passion for it. And I think, being able to deliver that kind of content to your customer base and your friends and your industry peers is a great way to really show, like, hey, we care, so.
Yeah, and I just wanted to tell our story, because I know that's a super important part of your brand, right? Is just to tell your story and what you're about and what you do every day and what you care about. And if you share that information, if you share that story, then usually that translates to a customer that understands or identifies with you, and then will come and want to buy shirts from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can see that you have a snake plant.
Yeah, however, it's not real.
You
Yeah.
son of a gun.
Yep, it's fake. I don't know where we got it. I didn't buy it. Jojo got it, but
We
you know
have
it.
we have a lot of snake plants here at our, I think we have 10.
And they're real or fake?
Yeah, we only buy real plants.
Well, you're in Texas. You probably can get. They probably would live anyway there
Right.
throughout the whole year. I don't know.
That's
It's
interesting. Yeah. Kind of got into plants. I bought this thing for my wife for her birthday, and it was a subscription to, it's called like the plant box, I think. And so every month she gets a new plant, and it comes with a pot, and then the plant, and then instructions on how to do all the stuff. And then, it's become a hobby, but
I
it's
love it.
interesting.
So
Yeah.
it's a seed, or is it actually like a plant that has a
It's
seedling
a
or
little plant.
a
Yeah.
little plant? Okay.
Yeah. Look, a good windowsill plant. Yeah. So it's a good birthday anniversary idea for you there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So one thing I like about what you've done at your shop, it seems like you guys are not this great big enormous print shop. You're what I would call the perfect size after growing to a size that we have become, that has become much more difficult to manage. But so you have your two auto shop, 20 people. It's a great number. And but one thing that I've noticed about you guys is you've kind of taken a step forward, and in looking at innovation and looking at technology, and you've really automated a lot of components in your shop that most shops your size wouldn't have done. So I was just curious, what makes you move forward with something like that? How did you get pushed over the edge to say, I'm going to have automatic developing and automatic reclaim and all that?
Yeah, I think I guess it's interesting you say 20-person shop, and that there's larger as you scale and as you get larger, how exponentially harder it gets. When went from 2 people to 5 people to 10 people, what that's like, because it's not just a little bit harder as you add people, it's actually exponentially harder, because just with communication, even like it used to be when we were smaller, I could just say, hey, to somebody, change the art or whatever, and they can change that. But now it has to go through so many layers because there's so many people, and by the time it gets to press, maybe they haven't even heard, or it could miss the right person, the person that you're intending to get that communicated to, so it gets so hard, communication does. But I would say, as we scaled and as we grew, we never really added equipment or automated things until, like, we had to, until it got so busy and for so long that we either had to do a couple of things. We either had to add a person to help out there, or add a machine to help out there, or maybe even both. Like sometimes it takes both, and so, or maybe not at the same time, but at different times. Maybe you add the equipment and then also another person later. And so I would say, automating helps you get orders out the door, but also there's another component of that in there, and that's that it improves your quality too. I mean, when we were, one of the things that forced us to get to automate our screen room, for example, was when we were a 2 press shop. We expanded. We took on 1,500 more square feet, and we had an option. We had an option to add another press at that point, or automate our screen room, and we decided to go with the screen room. And we found out that just automating our screen room was essentially like getting another press. It made us so much faster and so much more efficient that we were acting like a 3-press shop at that point, Um, we do have 3 presses now because of our last expansion just last year. And so we have a 3rd press, which has turned out to be, we really don't have 3 press teams. And so at this point, we're hiring and we're using it as like a supplemental press. And so, which has turned out really cool, to like be a really cool thing. So just to have this supplemental backup press where we can, like somebody could actually go over there and set it up while maybe the other 2 presses are running, you know what I mean? And then we can shift over and run on that press and then maybe set up a different press. So we're experimenting with different kinds of strategy on how we're supposed to run our shop now, in these new times, so it's interesting. We haven't got it figured out quite yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, I don't think there's a perfect way to do it. There's certainly everybody's ideal way to do it, and I laugh all the time because a consultant could walk into your shop today or walk into my shop today and say like, this is how you should be doing all these things. And it's like, yeah, that'd be great on the perfect day in the perfect world scenario, and everybody shows up to work and COVID doesn't exist, and like all these things. But it's like
Exactly.
the amount of variables that are at play on any given day is unbelievable. Like I mean, someone comes back from lunch 5 minutes late and it can offset everyone's day. So that's pretty interesting. Would you say that if you had the opportunity to automate a position, would you prefer to buy a piece of equipment over hiring a person?
Hmm. Um, Sometimes, yeah. I mean, we just went through that. So with our auto reclaim, we had a person that was just one person, and that was their role, right? So they were in reclaim, and were in reclaim all day, 8 hours a day. And so I had an option. I guess we could have hired another reclaim person and set up another dip tank, and another booth, and just have 2 people reclaiming all day. But I decided to automate right there because I thought it was the perfect time. We needed to have, we needed to be able to reclaim more screens every day. But not only did that automation make it so that we could do that, we could easily automate, or sorry, we could easily reclaim as many screens as we want, but it made that quality of life and made that role like a really good role. Like it's not, it used to be like the crummiest role in our shop. Like who wants to go reclaim it? It's, or especially all day, every day. And it turned it into like, I'll go do it, like I'll go reclaim today. It's a nice spot to be, it's, you don't have to suck in fumes, and you're not just stuck in this booth, and can't taste anything because you're maybe except for chemical, because your tongue is numb or whatever. I mean, it's just not a good spot to be. And so I guess, did that answer your question? Because automating buying that machine made that person who was going to be in reclaim, or both those people who we were going to hire to be in reclaim, it made their life better. And also what actually turned out, um, to happen was that that person didn't need to reclaim 8 hours a day because we could reclaim so fast now. And instead they were able to take on part-time role in a different department, so, and take care of something else we needed. So it was like, it's not like their position was eliminated or anything. They're actually, their job got better.
I think that's what happened for us in the beginning with Reclaim, because you have one or two people that are reclaiming all day, and maybe they're getting, you know, whatever, 40 screens done doing manual reclaim. I'm sure some person will watch this and be like, I can get 30 screens an hour done manually, but whatever.
Right.
Maybe you can, but the average person in that role is not going to do that. So, anyways, so suddenly they're getting all of the reclaim done that they need to in a couple hours or in a half day, and they can move on and do some other things like help QC or something like that. And then it does allow you that capacity to grow, because at some point, maybe today you're making 40 screens a day, and a year from now, maybe you're making 100 screens a day. And so it's allowing you to grow into that capacity as well, because I think probably the biggest bottleneck in 80% of print shops is the screen room, and having enough screens. Like there's this like how many screens should you have? And for me, it's 4 times the amount that you use in a day. So if you use 100 screens a day, you should have 400 screens, because 100 should be being reclaimed, 100 should be being coded, 100 are being imaged in the other, or on the floor, right? So, and then maybe even more than that, because you probably have some out being restretched. So it's looking at that from a big perspective and really stepping back. There's a lot of people that would never want to spend 50 or $100,000 on a reclaim machine because they just can't see the value of it. But being able to have like a big vision of what that can really do for your company, I think is something that you've had, that I think a lot of people don't get to that quickly. What about automated developing? What do you see with that?
Developing mean like our rinse after we expose.
Right.
Um, why we went with our rinse, our auto developing, was one, it was just cool. Like it was a cool machine. Like it has glass and you can watch it. So I could stand
It
back
was
there
better
and
than a
just,
fish tank. We were going to get a fish tank.
but yeah, we can just watch these screens being rinsed out. But it is like, as when we give tours, that's probably, besides just watching an auto run, and print t-shirts, it's like, that's the stop. Like that is one of the number one stops, to just watch a screen get rinsed out, because you have this screen, and then we put it in there, and then all of a sudden there's this stencil, and it's pretty cool to watch. But why we got that was, is I had somebody that was spending 5 or 6 hours a day in a booth rinsing out screens, and that's okay, I guess. But when you do that, even though you're good at that and that's your job, to rinse out screens and develop a screen, there's mistakes made. And there's mistakes made that you'll see. Maybe you didn't get this one little spot right, and then you get to press, and then you do your test print. And you're like, let's make another one. Well, so there was a little bit of that, and I can't remember the last time that we've gotten to press and had that happen, because you set a recipe on your rinse, and those recipes are determined by what mesh count and all this kind of stuff, and so you get that down, right? So that works. Um, but what I wanted was, at the time, is that person that was rinsing screens, I wanted him to be the production manager, and I wanted him to be able to, instead of 5 or 6 hours rinsing screens, to be able to put his 2 screens in there, close the door, walk away, and then go, put another screen, either coat screens or put a screen on the imager, or expose a screen, or all these other things you could be doing besides standing in a booth with trying to rinse out a screen.
Yeah,
So that
absolutely.
automated, us in that's what we got instead of a press. Instead of getting a press, we got an autocoder, we got a CTS, we upgraded I say upgraded our exposure unit, but I'd rather go back to my old one. Um, I went from metal halide to LED, and I'm like, I don't know. I think that was a bad move. But I mean, LED works, don't get me wrong, but it's not like our metal halide did. But we got that, and then we got the eco rinse. So we went from all of this manual stuff, like coding screens by hand, film on a screen and exposing screens, and all that time it takes, because you have to vacuum down and all this stuff. And we skip all those steps now, and one person can run that entire room, and so um yeah, that was a decision we made back then, and it really was. And also that CTS came with a registration system, and so it just made our press times, our setups, lightning fast.
Absolutely. I think all of that stuff is really hard to see before you purchase that stuff. And afterwards, like the reward of all of that and everything in hindsight is like, oh my gosh, why didn't we do this sooner? I think if you could even like take your monthly expenses and divide them by hour or divide them by minute, and see how much like 1 minute actually costs. I do that a lot. And sometimes like we'll have a 15-minute staff meeting and I'll be like, oh man, that was $300. So, something
Yeah.
stupid, but uh, you know, being able to do that and see how much time savings, because I did the same thing with automatic developing, where I was watching someone pressure wash a screen, had a lot of halftones and they have to look at it. put it back down and pressure wash it again and over and thinking like, man, that was 4 minutes. It took him 4 minutes to develop that screen. Like, what a waste of time. And I looked at the time, we were doing 100 screens a day. And so I'm imagining, could this be 400 minutes a day? Just like you're saying, like developing us, what a waste, like if a machine can do that, and then we can move on and take that person as an asset to do better things, because the person that is doing the quality control of your developing is really important and needs to be pretty smart. And so if they're spending 400 minutes of their day, like wasting those brain cells, that sucks.
Yeah, and it's a good spot to train in, like sometimes I think when we automate and when people come and join, let's say they join our team after we've automated a spot and they never saw what it used to be, that I think sometimes it's really good to learn on a manual press, for example. Like that's the very first print I ever did was on a manual press. Well, I have some people here running autos. They've never printed on a manual, and so they started as a press assistant and they maybe they're running an auto now as a press operator, but they probably could go over to a manual press and pull a squeegee and do okay, but they don't have that like time put in right there. And I think that benefits somebody when you do have that. And so like the guy who used to power wash screens for you, for 4 minutes, when he gets that, or when you get that developer, you understand like all of the, like, I guess the engineering behind it and what you're trying to achieve, and makes you use that machine even better. And so
that's another reason that like I want production artists to have lots of press time. Like if you're the dude doing seps, like you should spend some time on press to see how that affects the press operator, doing that cross training stuff.
100%. Yeah, if you have a designer, they could be a killer designer, and then they come join your team, and then all of a sudden you have to design for t-shirts.
Yeah.
And also considering, print order and things like that and what you have to work with. And until that designer has had one of his designs or her designs fail on press a bunch of times, and gone along and learned, it takes a while anyway, that learning curve from coming from a design background without t-shirts to come in here and see how it really works. And, it's tough, but you're right. Like until you're in that role or until you put somebody on press, it used to be one of our rules was when a designer started here, they actually were a press assistant for like a month or something. And I think everybody here, maybe but one, has been a press assistant. One of our designers was an intern, and he's like done a ton of things around here, which is so great because they can, if somebody's gone, they can fill in. If they have time, that is, they can go fill in.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, thanks, Andy, for sharing some time with us. Hearing from someone that's a growing shop that is definitely very prominent on the airwaves, and just kind of get behind the scenes with you is great. Want to thank our sponsors for the Ink Kitchen Shop Talks. Haynes, that beefy tea is coming right back in style, and of course Hirsch, because they got those embroidery machines when you need them most. So thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Brett.